up with the glide, got no safety on it. How I'm having all these thoughts is kinda crazy, ain't it? Things I do and why I do it, I can't much explain it. Baiting it to start the day, I gotta keep it on me, keep it straight in every way.
Hey everybody, welcome to Concrete Keeping It Real. Today we have a special guest, Alan Cohen,
Benson Cadet,
founder of Alan
Cohen and Cohen.
Cohen. Apparel. Yeah. So, the reason why I brought you on this show is you are doing something remarkable. And what I mean by that, they are people that are stuck in places that the world don't know about. And when I mean stuck in places, we're talking about incarceration. They're in prisons, they're in jails. They have no outlet. But for the past decade, you have taken time out of your life, going into the jails every day, faithfully, voluntarily, and giving your time to better these individuals, help rehabilitate these individuals, because most of these prisons are not helping them. But you're taking your time to go into these dark places and be that light for them, that beacon of hope for them. Right. So let's get into that. What caused you? What? Because you could be doing anything in the world rather than being in prison. Yes. So you're practically an inmate going there every day. So talk to them.
Well, let me put everything in context.
Right.
I'm not a volunteer at this point.
Okay.
We have a nonprofit that is funded by the state, and it is a paid position. I mean, it's not a tremendous amount of money, but it is a paid position.
Right.
But I did start the first couple of years when I got into that business. It was volunteer. And it started in 2005, 2006. I was living in Orlando, and I met a couple incredible guys that were real estate attorneys and investors who were volunteering at Tomoka State Prison in Daytona Beach for a program every Tuesday night. And I ran into them one night and they said to me, "Hey Alan, with your personality and your heart, did you ever think about doing some volunteering in a prison?" I said, "No, not really." I said, "I really wasn't on the top of my priorities, but I would be interested in checking it out." So it was called Journey to Manhood. It was part of this Horizon program in Daytona Beach. And I went with these guys, and after the first day doing it, I was hooked. And I did it every Tuesday night. I was living in Orlando at the time. We would meet and drive to Daytona and do it every Tuesday night. I did it for like 2 years.
I know you were hooked. You said you were hooked after you did it the first time, but tell me that feeling when you first walked into because you hear horrible stories about prison.
Right.
So don't nobody want to just voluntarily just step into the gate, especially with not knowing anybody, not knowing what would happen. So what was going internally? What was going through your mind? What was your spirit trouble? How did you feel?
What was going through my mind was what most people who have never been inside a prison like that or jails were thinking. They watch movies, they see documentaries, and they hear all the bad things about it. And the biggest thing is the stories that they make you feel like everybody in prison is just bad people. And so the biggest shock to me was the incredibly intelligent, loyal, thoughtful people that were incarcerated. And very quickly I learned that incarcerated people are no different than you and me.
No different.
No different.
No different.
They get up in the morning, they put their shoes and socks on the same way, they all have hearts, they all have
human beings.
Yeah. But what I've learned in 7 years is there's so many contributing factors that put these people in the wrong direction, and not all of them went in the wrong direction. A lot of them just happen to be the wrong place at the wrong time. There's some laws, not only in Florida, but federal laws that really don't give anybody the benefit of the doubt. We also don't think about how a person's environment was growing up.
Right.
Which
contribute to their upbringing.
Absolutely. I mean, when they go in front of a judge and they're 16 or 17 years old and were convicted of burglary and armed robbery, and were taught by whoever their environment was how to steal, okay, how to do things to be able to put food on the table, okay. That's what they thought was the right thing to do. That's how they were taught. But that was never ever brought up when a person goes to trial. You know.
So let me harp on this for a second. That world was not a world that you could relate to because you did not come from that world.
No, I did not.
So what world did you come from?
I came from a middle-class family, one brother, best parents in the world.
Right.
We're married for 61 years. They died 90 days apart.
Wow.
My father passed away because he couldn't live without my mother. He wasn't really sick.
I relate.
He went in for a little procedure and never came out.
I relate to
He's
that.
devastated. It happened.
Because my mom passed away a year right after my father, so I could relate to that. They can't live apart.
But I was, when I say no angel, I never really got in any trouble, but I wasn't a great student. I did go to college, but barely went through it. But I didn't, you know, I was an athlete. I played sports.
Right.
It was okay with sports, but I didn't do well in school. I went through the hippie stage and all that stuff that everybody did in the 60s.
The drugs,
Did a little bit. I smoked some pot, didn't do anything really,
Right.
do anything else. But I had a great environment.
However, I love that what you just said, but they make it seem as if it is the minority that dabble in drugs or do the, as you call it the hippie, we call it the smoking weed, the getting high. But why is it such a contrast when it comes to the penal system? It's as if you see minorities are the ones filling up the jug and not the other side,
Right.
the other race.
Right.
Why is that the case?
I mean, that's just the way the society is. at this point.
So do you admit there's no equality?
No, there isn't. You know, I walk through my prisons every day,
Talk.
and I look and I see that 75% of the men incarcerated in my prisons are
Minorities.
African American. Well, African Americans.
Yeah.
And then the rest are the Caucasian, the Hispanic. And I mean,
I'm still baffled at that because I like to tell people that, especially in South Florida, we're not the majority. And when I mean we, I'm talking about the African, but we're not the majority in South Florida. However, we're the majority in the penal system. Throughout my whole incarceration, I could count the amount of Caucasian men that I ran into. I could literally count with my hand.
right. Well, I mean, if you combine the aspects of it, okay, number one, the environment, because that's how society made it.
Right.
Okay, that's how society, with the racial tensions and the prejudices, and put the African Americans in a position like that. Okay?
Wow.
And I really believe that the combination of both is why, you know, the numbers are so distracting.
Right.
Okay. But getting back to my experiences in prison, I tell everybody all the time that I've met some of those amazing people, and I was in the corporate world all the time.
And what did you do in the corporate world? If you don't mind me
I
asking?
started off, I have a degree in hospitality management.
Right.
I started off managing hotels for Hilton, for Sheraton.
I
did my internship at the Waldorf Astoria in New York.
Wow.
And for 10, 15 years, I was in the hotel business. I was the director of food and beverage. I was the director of catering, hotel general manager. And then after that, I went off on my own and opened restaurants. I had restaurants in New Jersey, Philadelphia.
So how many chains all together at one time?
Well, I had 7 restaurants
At one time.
and then I had probably 6 or 7 other ones.
So you was doing well. You were really away from
Well,
the world that you dab in now. You was a world away.
Well, I had my ups and downs. I mean, I made a lot of money in that business, and I lost a lot of money. I had a big ego, and I was on a roll, and I thought that everything I touched turned to gold, and there was nothing that I could do wrong. And I made 2 big mistakes. Picked some bad locations. Thought that because I was so smart, I was so successful, that everybody was going to come to me, and Everything I made, I lost. Okay, and then I, was able to bounce back later in life in the 50s, doing other things.
So you actually, and let's talk about that, because people need to relate, and I can relate to what you say. You actually filed for bankruptcy.
Yes, I did.
And as I call it, that is a financial death that some people don't bounce back from.
Right.
And you happen to go through that in your mid 50s. You're 50 years old.
I think I was around 45.
40, but
40.
I can only imagine you thought the world was about to end going through that process like that. To lose everything, like you said, to know that everything you touched was gold.
Right.
You could never do no wrong. And then in an instant, a year or two, everything crumbled.
And it was tough. It was tough for me, emotionally, psychologically. But I was advised by a lawyer it was the best thing to do. And 7 years I was out of it. And my credit right now is better than it's ever been. I was able to bounce back. So that worked out okay. But I changed my careers about 8 years ago when I got out of the hospitality business. I had this apparel company I was doing part-time for 20 years. And then I kind of folded in more of a full-time, and my entertainment that I've been doing at assisted living and independent living facilities for 25 years.
So you were already...
I've been doing both of those things for 25 years. And then I got into this prison business, running this as a transition coordinator for a company called Horizon, which is in 9 prisons in Florida right now. And it's an educational, faith and character-based program that teaches men how to be better men.
So let me paint this broad picture for our viewers.
Right.
You actually as you said, you've been going to retirement homes performing for the elderlies.
Right.
And I like to tell people that a retirement home is no different from jail.
No, you're absolutely right.
You have people that are sent to these homes, these retirement homes, and never see their family ever again.
Correct. There's some that are like that, some that aren't. But
it's
it's funny you said that, because I look at my work in the prison system and I look at my work in the assisted and independent living facilities, and you know what? One thing they have in common: I've never had a better audience in either one. Compared to if I do a show or make a presentation to corporate America, or I do a show at Benson Cadet's birthday party, they all like it, but I never get...
It's not appreciated as...
Never. It's absolutely unbelievable what I get from those 2 areas.
Because they learn, they both facilities, if you want to call them both part, learn not to take things for granted no more.
In the entertainment end of it, there's some places that are like the Ritz-Carlton, they're independent living facilities, 5 stars, where these people pay $10,000, $12,000, $14,000 a month to be there.
I know.
I mean, they're 5-star, but they still love the attention, and they love the fact that when I hold their hand and sing to them and dance with them, that they don't get that attention. A lot of these very wealthy people, get dropped off, families pay for them, they don't see them. I've also done for years memory care units, which is Alzheimer's and dementia patients. And I've had activities directors and nurses tell me, that lady that you just sang to, that you got her to sing, she hasn't spoken to anybody in 3 years.
And you got her to sing.
Because music does.
Music does wonders. Music is a universal language, as I call it.
So I've given a lot, but I've received more from the appreciation that I get from doing these things. I walk into prison every day.
Which one is your to-go song?
I have a repertoire of 1,000 songs.
Wow.
Okay, and I have to do 20 per show.
Wow.
And there's no to-go, but I do stuff from the 40s and 50s because. And I started doing that music 25 years ago, and I thought I'd be doing more Motown and 60s and 70s music, which I play guitar and do too, but the people are living longer now.
Right.
So I'm still doing the same music. They want to hear the music
from their time.
The 95-year-old that I'm singing to, they want to hear the music from
their
18.
Time. Yes.
So Frank Sinatra and Bobby Darin.
And you remember these songs?
Oh yeah, and I do a lot of Motown.
Right.
I still love My Girl and
look at you.
all that stuff, So, but yeah, there's a lot of similarities in the appreciation that you get. Now, I do get paid from the entertainment standpoint. I don't get paid what entertainers get, but I get, I get towards
So
so
what inspires you to do this? What inspires you to guide those who are in these places?
It's what they call, I learned in my network groups, called giver's gain. You give
and you gain. Wow.
The appreciation that you get from people. My apparel company, I mean, I do pretty well with it, but I don't really make any money because I do shirts with the Department of Corrections logos on them. I give them to the wardens and the classification officers.
You actually have a shirt on right now. I'm looking at it. It's an arm. It's two arms. Gravity bars.
Right. This is Horizon. This is our program that we operate.
Right.
We have a contract with the state, and we're in 9 prisons. And my buddy Nate Shade, who runs the company, he had me make these for him, and so everybody that works for us wears these. But I donate a lot of this stuff to help develop relationships.
So let me ask you this: you're in the penal system for the past decade. You're around criminals, as they would call them. But do you think these stiff sentences that they're giving them is appropriate?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. The sentences are way too long.
30 years, 40 years, 50 years.
My opinion, if there's a person that's really changed their lives and don't have any DRs reported or behave themselves well and try to make themselves better, they should never have to be in prison more than 25 years.
More
Even
than
20. Even 20.
Even 20.
Okay? There's guys in there, my friend Jerry Ward just got out, he was in for 50 years. Okay?
50?
Yeah.
50.
Yeah. I mean, we've got guys in our reentry program, which you know.
Yes.
That most of them have been in 35, 40 years. And they could have been released a long time ago.
30 years.
Now,
They are far cry from the man that got arrested.
completely different. But here's the alternative.
Talk to me.
Question is, when I get the more conservative people saying to me, well, how would you feel if you were the son or the daughter or the brother or sister of the person that person murdered?
Murder.
It's a good point. I go on the parole hearings every week.
Okay.
And I pick and choose people that I give testimonies for. If somebody's been through my program,
Correct.
and I know them well, and they're up for parole, which that's a whole other story. There's no more parole. These are people that did their crime.
They were
before
so long ago that
1995,
parole is this.
Now, if you get a life sentence,
It's a life sentence. Life is life.
So when I get up and testify for somebody, it's somebody that I know.
Yes.
I'm 99% sure that they're going to be great when they get out of society. But
The family is
I
there.
hear the family opposition.
I understand.
And I hear it all the time, and I get it, and you really have to look at it from both ends. But what they don't, they know all the hurt that they've gotten, and I hear all the time about
But don't you believe that a family that holds on to that hurt would never progress? Don't you think that if that person, I can't relate. If I'm not saying I relate to the victim's family, I can't, because I have a daughter. If something were to happen to my daughter, I know there's a hate. Nevertheless, I know I'm grounded with God. And I know in order to progress from that, you would have to forgive. And what do you want that person to do something in honor of that victim? To show that they changed, because things happen that we have no control over.
There's many things that we don't understand about other people. We don't understand how people can vote for certain people that are in office.
Right.
Everybody's different.
Right.
But I have overcome that. I see more to the benefit of seeing how a man can change.
Right. Because my position is, if that one man had changed, you know how many others he could change? That he was around, or that heard of his story, or that are walking that path. Mm-hmm. And he could come out and tell them no.
Yeah.
Because a youth or a kid or a child would hear someone that walked through their shoes rather than someone that is, listen, you never lived my life, so you don't know what you're talking about.
You want to know about the minority situation.
Right.
I mean, there are so many instances that people didn't do the crime. And
That's another subject. That's another
felony
subject.
murder
Yes.
is the worst law
And for the audience, felony murder is if me and you are together, Alan, we're in the car, you're driving me somewhere, you don't know what I'm about to do. I get out of the car and I kill someone, I rob someone, I do a heinous crime, whatever it may be. Yeah, and it ends up in murder. You will be charged.
Same.
You will be charged as if you were the trigger man.
So you and I drive up to the liquor store. I'm driving, and you get out and you got me go buy a bottle of liquor.
And I go kill him.
Go kill the guy and come in. Let's get out of here.
You're
I don't know what you did.
Yes.
And I get the same charge. I get like.
But minorities are the ones suffering from
They don't
that.
have the resources.
Minorities are the ones suffering from this law.
They can't get the lawyers. They can't get that. It all trickles down.
It's not just felony murder.
Oh, no.
On the federal side, we could talk about the crack law.
Yeah.
The crack law was targeted towards the minority because they know the dealers were the minority, the black, the African Americans.
Yeah.
So they made that stiff because at one point they changed during the Obama presidency, they changed the law a little. But there's a lot of individuals that for 5 grams of crack, 5 grams of crack is as much as this cup.
Yeah.
This lid right here. Doing 20, 30 years for this.
Yeah.
For this crack right here.
And there is a minority situation, but there's plenty of non-minorities that are sitting in prison.
Of course. Of course.
You know, the sex offender law is another big problem. And again, I don't condone it, but sex offenders are all thrown into one category.
Yes.
So the guy
that was 18 years old having sex with a 16-year-old, you're under that.
Yeah. You are.
And that's high school. That's like saying a senior is having sex with a freshman or sophomore, but now your life is ruined forever.
He is considered a sex offender.
Yes, that's a sex offender.
That molests a 10-year-old kid. So
yes, that law is
yeah.
obscure.
And I can tell you that I know of a lot of cases that guys with his girlfriend, okay, and he breaks up with her, and she has kids. She has kids, and she's hurt, and she gets her kid to go tell the judge that he did something to her, and there's no DNA required. Just that's all they got to do, and that poor guy is
It's done for because of a spiteful woman.
That's happened.
But these
there are guys.
No, we understand. But all it takes is a word, no evidence. All it takes is someone to testify that this happened, and you could be losing the rest of your life due to someone that is hurt, that wants to see you go through this, and the law allows this to happen. But this is why we're having these conversations, so that the world may know that these things do happen, and you're seeing it every day.
And so what I do is we have an incredible program that are dealing with men that want to make themselves better, and we help them. It's a faith and character-based program. They have to put, it's like college.
Right.
They have to put in 1,200 hours to graduate. They live in communities, on open bay dorms, with facilitators. And I tell everybody, they go, how do you run all these things?
How do you?
I don't. I get them started. I teach them.
And they run.
My guys are so much smarter than me.
Right.
So much smarter than me, a lot of them. And they always say the key to being successful is surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. Well, I surround myself with people that are smarter than me in prison. And you know what? I never have to worry, like in the restaurant business, where people didn't show up for work because they kind of have to show up. They have nowhere else to go.
Right.
But our program is really good, and our recidivism rate is so low, okay, that the state has believed in us and has helped us continue to do our program.
What do you feel that they could do to help? Because where I came from during my incarceration, I seen no form of rehabilitation. What do you think the prison system, especially in the state of Florida, could do to help people reform, rehabilitate?
First of all, the biggest thing is support when they get out, especially if they don't have any support. I mean, there are guys that are literally thrown out in the streets. They don't have any money or any family or support, and when they get a $50 bus ticket.
And that's our recidivism. That's how it happens. They go back. It's a cycle.
For example, the Lifers program that everybody's CTP program is a wonderful program.
Right.
And they have transition houses that they send people to, and they have APPERAL Ministries that hires them, helps them pay their rent, gets them jobs, pays them, and it's a great transition program. The state needs more of those, okay? And if they can get support for these guys that get out, that's
everything.
That's everything.
And I know if you being in there, I know you said, because I've seen it countless times with my own eyes. Inmates, convicts who were sentenced 20 to 30 years, when their sentence is home up, they don't even want to leave the compound. They don't even want to leave the institution because they're so fearful of coming home because they have no support.
Right. Well, there's a lot of people that you're right, that are scared to death. Because don't forget, even though prison's not a great place to be, they have the rent paid for, they have the food paid for, they have everything paid
Free.
for.
Everything's
They don't
free.
have cell phones, and if they don't have anything when they come out, they're lost. I mean, the majority of the guys in our Reentry 2 program, which is something we haven't talked about, they are lifers. They did 30, 35 years, and they're coming out, and they don't know what cell phones are, they don't know what internet is,
Wow.
social media.
Wow.
So we have to, it's just,
Teach them all over
yeah,
again.
I mean, I would love to be able to teach these guys social media, but we can't do it because we can't have internet or Wi-Fi.
Do you think, let's talk about cell phone in prison. Do you think that is something that should be exempt from them? Because they say they want you to have contact with the community, but they limit your contact with the community. Do you think that's fair? Do you think that they should just be cut off from the world? It don't need to be cell phone, but don't you think they need more to help someone get rehabilitated? Don't you think they need more contact with society to make them human?
Well, what the state of Florida has done is they've established these incentivized prisons. So and Everglades is one of them.
Explain.
So for guys that have behaved themselves, and have not gotten DRs, and have shown the desire to make themselves better men, they're able to go to incentivized prisons. Incentivized prisons have programs like ours, Everglades, that people come from the outside, and like our prison is probably all programs, or 90% programs.
Right.
There's Project Life Change, there's dog program, there's positive peers, peer-to-peer, the ambassador, art program. These are all programs, and these are giving people the opportunity to have people come from the outside, like my wife, who is an art teacher for 50 years.
Yes, she is.
She teaches at Everglades twice a month. She's got a class of 50 to 60 people,
Yes,
and her nonprofit funds that, all the supplies and everything.
Right.
And
she's an incredible woman.
and the appreciation that she gets is like, I've got her going to start over at the women's prison, and I can't wait till she goes there because they're just going to go nuts with that. So anyway, I mean, if they work hard enough and they do the right thing and get into an incentivized prison, that's their chance to be.
But my question now, the question I raised, why wait till they're doing 20, 30 years to have that available for them?
Well, to get into incentivized prison, it can happen right away.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that changed.
A couple years they've shown good behavior and they apply for it, they can get to an incentivized prison. So Florida's done a good job with that.
Okay.
They've started these incentivized prisons. But listen, it's a tough business. I'm on the parole hearings every week. I really respect the parole commission.
You do?
It's called, and at first I was a little leery of it, but I've listened to these people week after week. They have a very tough job. And don't forget, they don't get a chance to see anybody.
No, they don't.
It's all
black and white.
Right. It's
black.
all paperwork.
Do you think that's fair?
I don't understand why they don't do videos.
Yeah, do you think that's fair? Because I am more than a number. I am more than a black and white folder.
I think they should be able to do it, especially since COVID, when we've done video calls and Zoom calls. I don't understand why they don't do it, but I have really learned to respect their work, and they have a tough job to do,
right.
And they need to make decisions, and they investigate it pretty much. Now, as far as probation goes, I'm not really involved with them. There's a lot of work that needs to be done.
But I understand the hesitancy or the trepidation of allowing someone to go home only to go commit another crime under your watch. I understand, but there's countless others that have come home and done great things with their lives.
Absolutely.
Why don't you think that is not magnified enough? It's not spoken
Let me
about
ask you a
enough.
question. You did 17 years in confinement.
Solitary confinement.
Solitary. Okay. So if somebody were to tell me that, knowing what solitary confinement is,
Yes.
and I knew somebody that was in the same situation that you were in,
Right.
I would say you wouldn't have a chance. You would need complete psychological,
I hear
big
that a
money
lot.
spent.
I hear that a lot.
Okay, so you answer the question. Okay, how were you able to overcome? And I'm not just saying this because I'm on the show, but I know Benson really well, and I was attached to him from the day he got out.
Right.
And I met him because of his ambition and his sincerity and his being conscientious. And I asked myself the same question about you. So
I have one word.
What?
God.
Was
God.
that?
God.
Okay.
God was the one that through my darkest times, when I was in that cell in solitary confinement, especially my last 2 years, because my last 2 years was rough. I was waiting to go to trial. I lost my mom. I lost my dad. I lost my brother. These were cornerstones to my life. These were the legs to my table, meaning that's what kept me. And I lost 3 legs. I was wobbling. But then I heard God tell me in those times, you gotta lean on me now. You can't lean on nobody but me.
Okay. So that's a good point, because I've seen several people turn their lives around that way. I mean, God Behind Bars, Prison Fellowship.
Right.
These are all incredible programs that come into the prisons, and they've done Kairos.
Right.
They've done a tremendous job, and there's so many of them. So that's something that obviously needs to be encouraged.
Because I've seen, like I said, I've seen people self-medicate. I've seen people, like you said, commit suicide.
I don't really know how. My biggest question is, I look at guys that are in my program. I look at guys that I know that are like brothers,
Right.
you know, that are incarcerated, that have life sentences with no possibility of parole. And I ask myself every day, how do they deal with that? How do they deal with that?
You have to find some type of peace. You have to find
Yeah,
some
because-
inner peace, because without that inner peace, without that higher power that you submit to, which I call God, there's no way to you're just idly walking about. Now you're just doing everything else,
When I see
and
guys,
you're miserable.
when I see guys in my program that are teaching classes, and they're incredible, they're like college teachers.
Right.
And they're making incredible presentations and helping other guys. And I'm looking at them knowing that that guy's never going to get out of prison unless some laws change, and there's always a hope of that, which I think eventually parole will have to go back in Florida. But, and I say, how do they do it? And I actually, people ask me who I admire and who I envy. Those are the guys I envy.
There's actually a movement right now. When you partake in that, they're actually advocating for parole.
Yeah, they are. Denise Rock from Florida Cares is a very good friend of mine.
Right.
Society First, they're all organizations that I
They're
know
advocating
very
for
well,
that as we speak.
that they're talking to legislators, but
It's gonna kick in.
yeah.
Listen,
We'll see.
but at what years? 25-year mark, the 20-year mark? What year are they pushing for?
Well, Denise has a program that after 20 years, if they've done a certain crime, after 25 years, if there was blood involved, after 30 years, if it was heinous,
Right.
you know, there's a whole, she's got a whole program that she's
Capital.
tiered.
Tiers,
Yeah,
capital.
tiered. So, so that I'm hoping and praying that, you know, that they put that parole back into, because at least it gives these people a light at the end of the tunnel and hope. So that's something that.
And you could be the voice for them.
Well, we're trying. I mean, we're really trying.
Well, you're an incredible voice that needs to be heard, because you're around them every day. You see what goes on the prison grounds,
Right.
and you know that it's far true from what is depicted on television, documentaries, or wherever that portrays a negative light on individuals.
You know, when I walk into the prison every day, and it wasn't always like this with the officers and the staff, because they could be difficult, but I've developed relationships with the administration and the officers and everything. you know, I've got a lot of really good friends there.
Right.
But when I walk in and the participants, the guys that are incarcerated, the greetings that they give me, you know, people say, have you ever had a problem? I've never even had close to a problem. I've had way more problems on the street. My wife, you know, goes in there for 5 years, not even close, you know, nothing ever. She tells everybody the same thing. I mean, I feel totally safe. It just, the feeling that you get from those people is like something that you just don't get on the street.
I love that you just said that, because this show is called Concrete, Keeping It Real. And you just kept it so real just now. You telling your position.
Right.
Your
the
position.
gratification, and you know, it's not ego. It's just the good feeling of being appreciated.
So, Mr. Cohen, I'm gonna have to ask you this question that I asked every last person that sat on that chair right now. What does keeping it real mean to you?
Keeping it real in the incarceration business.
Keeping it real in whatever fashion that you take it. What does keeping it real mean?
Keeping it real is second chance.
Mm.
Second chance is something that has transformed me.
Forgiveness.
Before I became involved in this prison business, if I heard of certain crimes that somebody killed somebody,
Yeah,
they deserve it.
yeah,
They
deserve
it.
that.
They
Right.
deserve it. But after learning what I've learned and the experiences that I've had, which I could write a book about, second chance.
Second chance.
Everybody needs a second chance.
Everybody deserves a second
Everybody
chance.
needs a second chance.
Everybody
I've
deserves
made
a second.
mistakes in my life
Wow.
that, like everybody else has, and that some people would be too fond of.
Yes.
But second chance. Everybody needs a second chance.
So
As long as they've earned it.
of course,
They've had to earn
of
it.
course.
Had to prove it.
With that, we're gonna end it with everybody deserves a second chance. As Alan Cohen just said, we all are deserving of it if you earned it. But once you earned it, there's no reason for someone to be throwing your past at you. Because we all deserve to evolve and transcend into the new person that you've become. So let the world know that accept those who have tarnished passes, but have worked their way to shed all that they were to become that new being that they are now. So let's learn to accept them for who they are now, rather than put that garment, that old past upon them. And we'll end it with that. Thank you, Dr. Cohen.
My pleasure, Mr. Bates.
And you all go to COHENANDCOHENAPPERAL.com and buy his apparels and support my man, because he's really here for us. Thank you.
Breaking my back, trying to get that. They gon' act like we cool, but they weren't that. I was dealing with it all on my own. Breaking my back, trying to get that. They gon' act like we cool, but they weren't that. I was dealing with it all on my own.
Breaking my heart again as you go.
We'll get some.